2 years ago in July, South Africans and the world witnessed devastating unrest across Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. The violence and large-scale looting resulted in 350 people losing their lives and immense damage to property and infrastructure. In response to the aftermath, the SA Special Risk Insurance Association, or SASRIA, says it has settled and paid over 30 billion rand in claims submitted for losses incurred during the unrest period. From today, the organization will also showcase a film documentary entitled The Unrest in Johannesburg. It is a thought-provoking piece of work that captures the events of those 7 days. To tell us more, we are joined now by Mpumi Tyikwe, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Sasria. Mpumi, it's great to have you. Thanks very much for joining us on the program.
Good morning to you and good morning to your viewers.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago. It's a time that I don't think any of us want to remember. It's something you want to sort of compartmentalize and say, oh, okay, no, that didn't happen, but it did. It really did happen. And in a devastating way, 30 billion rand in claims have been settled by Sasria in the wake of those unrests. This has seen some businesses recovering, but obviously it hasn't been the same for everyone. How many claims are still outstanding right now?
Right now, we had a total of 17,500 claims for that period, to the value of 32 billion rand as Sasria. As you rightfully say, we have settled 97% of those claims, just over 31 billion. So we are still left with just under 1 billion rands of claim that we still have to settle. The majority of those claims are really buildings under construction. So as you will know, we had to rebuild some of the malls that were that caught fire, that were destroyed during that period. So we are in the process of completing those, and we are paying the contractors as they progress with the work.
Yeah. KwaZulu-Natal, Gauteng, they were at the center of the unrests, and the economy lost around 50 billion rand. That's what the estimate costs were. How much did the events impact the current state of our economy in general, though?
Look, what you'll have seen, I mean, you've rightfully mentioned the loss of life. That we can never recover from. We lost more than 350 South Africans during that particular protest, and that is sad. And I mean, even in your previous interview, we are seeing people that are going onto into a protest. We hope that things they do things in a responsible manner. But coming back to the damage or the economic impact of the Sasria of the July 2021 event, what we saw was that over 30,000 people lost their jobs, in particular in KwaZulu-Natal. Yeah. And some foreign companies that had invested in that particular region, once we paid them, they vowed never to come back to South Africa. So that means those jobs are lost forever. And if you were to work out that, an average South African who is employed supports at least 4 to 6 family members, you can imagine the impact it has on society as well and on livelihoods.
Yeah. We, as I mentioned at the beginning, we all watched and witnessed the devastation caused by this unrest, including looting on a large scale. I mean, I remember sitting here the morning that it was happening and sitting in disbelief as to what we were seeing. Our television camera was set up and people were just walking in and out. This was in KwaZulu-Natal. People were just walking in and out the shop, taking whatever they wanted, and there was nobody stopping anybody. There was just no visibility of policing at that time. Your investigations, what have they revealed about those fateful days? Was it all about the protesting, about former President Jacob Zuma's arrest? Was there more to it? I mean, obviously there's suspicions that there was so much more to it, but perhaps you can let us into the investigations now.
Yes, look, it started as people protesting against the arrest of the former President Jacob Zuma. That's how it initially started. But then thereafter, I think it took a totally different trajectory and dimension, especially when the people started realizing that the police were stretched. As you are saying, they did not respond as they would normally respond in an event of that nature. So what we have seen from an investigation point of view is that there are certain pockets or certain areas where it was well organized. How do we know this? We know, for instance, how the fire was started, the type of chemicals that were used to start the fire, and the fact that the people who started the fire in those buildings went on to switch off the sprinkler system. Because generally, most buildings, commercial buildings, have got ways to stop a fire when it starts. So those were deliberately switched off, power was switched off, and fire was set up with special chemicals. But those were in the minority. What then happened in fact, it went on for about 9 days. What we saw on the fourth day, when the people started realizing that the police are not responding, then we saw people who were just purely being opportunistic. They just said, look, my neighbor has done it, my friend has done it, now let me go and steal. I mean, there is the story of the young man who went into a Woolworth store and stole some food. That was pure criminality and opportunism because the system failed.
Yeah, and that's the reality, is that I think it was a combination of both, which I'm gathering from you. And I don't think we can emphasize enough the fact that 350 people lost their lives. This is a huge number of people we're talking about. A lot were also arrested during the time of the unrest. And the important question is, and this is the one that we really worried about at the time, do you think law enforcement agencies did everything they could to bring to book the instigators who led the violence? I mean, do you feel like there's been justice?
Look, it's very difficult for me to comment on that particular area. All I can say is that it's been slow, and very few people have been convicted. There have been some conviction, but it tends to be those people lower down in the order. I mean, the media ran stories a year. Last year, this time, there were stories that were being ran where people who are in jail were being interviewed, and they were being asked, why did you do it? Why did you participate in it? And really, you could see that these are people who are in real poverty. That's what motivated them to do it. We haven't seen what I would call the big fish being arrested. Not at all. Yeah. Apologies. This is my energy saving.
Not a problem at all.
Not load shedding.
Not load shedding. Okay, good. I'm glad. Energy saving. Move around, keep those lights on.
Yes.
Sasria received funds. You did get funds from Treasury amounting to more than 20 billion rand after the unrest. I mean, how much of this amount still needs to be used to settle claims from 2 years ago? I know you said there was 2 billion outstanding. Is that it, even with the money that you've been given from Treasury?
Yes.
Okay.
Look, going forward, really, yes. So Treasury injected an amount of 22 billion rands. I think it's also important to remind South Africans that, Sasria was set up in 1979. And during that period, since then, we've only made one loss, which is, trading loss, which is this July 2021 event. Over the years, Sasria has contributed to the fiscus an amount of 17 billion rands in taxes and dividends. That's what we've paid to government because we were doing very well. Now, with this event that amounted to 32 billion rands, a government injected an amount of 22 billion rands to make sure that we can meet all the claims, and also we've got enough capital for us to be a going concern. As you would know, is that we are regulated by the Prudential Authority, and we need to keep a certain level of capital for us to operate. As we speak today, Sasria is in a better financial position than before the July 2021 event. We are sitting with reserves as we speak of 10.5 billion rands. So during July 2021, we're sitting with reserves of 9.2 billion rands. So we are in a better position to deal with an event. However, if we're to experience something similar or something of that magnitude, we will still have to ask government to assist us. Because as we are saying, we are sitting currently with reserves of 10.5 billion rands, and that claim was 32 billion rands.
Yeah. This documentary, let's talk about this. I must say this is something I would really love to see. It's entitled The Unrest. It'll be premiered in Johannesburg, and it highlights the loss of life, the destruction of infrastructure, the post-socioeconomic damage caused by the devastation. I suppose, not to give too much away, but what is the real focus? Is it just on the devastation and everything that was caused, or is there more to this?
Really, my takeaway, or what we would like to achieve with it, is that South Africans need to realize that the biggest loser when there is devastation of this magnitude are the communities themselves. You know, if you destroy infrastructure, it means for us to restart again, we have to rebuild that, which is an opportunity loss. So that's the one dimension of it. The second dimension is to celebrate, though. Even though we are remembering a sad event in our democratic history, is to also celebrate that it happened in 2 provinces. It didn't spread to 7 of our other provinces. So various South Africans said, let us stop this. It is not the right path for us to go. And we celebrate that. And we saw in Soweto, for instance, that the communities, the taxi industry, they all came together and started protecting the infrastructure, which is in itself a very good thing. Yeah. The third part is really to start, I think, okay, as South Africans, we debate a lot. We are good at identifying the problems. If I were to ask you, what are the challenges in South Africa, you will quickly give me the top 5 of the challenges that we face as a country. However, we are not as good in coming up with solutions and then implementing those solutions. So it's really, we are hoping that South Africans are going to start thinking about how do we solve, the challenges that we have, and more importantly, how then do we implement it? Indeed. We cannot continue as South Africans in the same trajectory of protesting, sending memos, and then nothing happens.
Indeed. All right, Mpumi, I've got to leave it there. Looking forward to seeing this documentary, and we'll obviously give more details as to how South Africans can watch this. I'm sure many will want to, with caution, obviously, because it brings up a lot of emotions. Mpumi Tyikwe, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Sasria, talking to us about the progress that's been made since the July 2021 unrests, and a new documentary called The Unrest.